Hello there, and welcome to my unorthodox theory. I'm never gonna get that. And this strongly relates to Persona 6. So this was brought to my attention by Support Creativity. So he states that in each Fortune Arcana that there are hidden references tying each game to the next iteration. So as we read through, you can notice some of his points, and as we see in Persona 3, there's a subtle line about a limo that he should use to escort Fuga. Oh, and how it'd be a smooth ride. Although this is just a little, and honestly not really damning evidence, it's a cool nod to the idea that in Persona 4 you ride in a limousine. Although it is an interesting nod to the Persona 4 Velvet Room where it takes place inside of a limousine, it's not enough damning evidence. I would like to say that in Keisuke Kasaku social link pertains much to discovering one's true self. Keisuke is a smart kid. He excels extremely well when it comes to his medical knowledge. So much so, kids in class actually tease him. They're like, oh wow, look at this kid. But one day, the All Valley Bay Area art competition comes rolling into town, causing Keisuke to reevaluate what he truly is. Is he an artist, or is he just going to follow what his father places before him? So it's really a story about self-discovery, which is much of what ties Persona 4 together, the whole story of friendship and bonds and discovering one's true self in the shadows. And I thought it was very interesting how it tied it all together, and quite coincidental. Moving on to Persona 4's Fortune social link. Now, this one's a little bit more obvious with the nod. For this one, we follow Naoto Shirogane, who just so happens to be chasing a phantom thief? Question mark, which is basically foreshadowing the setting of Persona 5, where you're a phantom thief. I mean, come on. Any more obvious? Also, Persona 5 has a lot to do with social issues and the reforming of ideas. Her idea of an authority figure having to be masculine. So she has to portray those masculine traits just so she can be seen as an authoritative figure in her society. And what's interesting about her social link is by the very end, she subverts this idea. She's no longer held down by the notion that she has to portray masculine qualities to demand respect as an authority figure, so that she could be a strong detective. So I thought it was interesting because she's trying to reform her own society, her own societal view of what is a masculine figure. And so I think that was interesting how it kind of relates to Persona 5 in that way. Now, time for the bread and butter of the bacon. So moving on, we go to Persona 5's Fortune social link, Chihaya. Now, the underlining message of her social link is changing one's fate. I speculate that Persona 6 will not only focus on this idea, Chihaya also talks about some mountain village, which could be possible speculation for the setting of Persona 5, which is interesting because they could explore the idea of a medical facility taking place in mountainous village, which goes into the idea that Chihaya, even though living in the real world, has psychic abilities outside the mementos and the cognition world. So it's cool to play around with the idea that Persona 6 could take place in kind of a mix between real world and the metaverse, and there might be actual powers related in the real world. Much like how in Shin Megami Tensei, it's kind of one and the same. How they blend the real world with like the archaic hell of the apocalypse. But that's just speculation. Chihaya also mentions the holy stones and how much they fixated on them. But I think that was just more of a marketing scheme they're trying to pitch in the game, because they really said they made money off seminars when it came down to it. But the Reddit user did have an interesting theory going on about a MacGuffin item like the Holy Stones that Chihaya sells you being the main MacGuffin of the story. You know, the item you have to get in each palace type of deal. But that was kind of just like a story aspect, you know, so people would buy in on the stone and then they'd go to the seminars and learn about stone energy and all that fucking crap. But when you explore the Fortune social link a little more, Chihaya does mention a lot of brainwashing going on. They kind of play with that ideal around a little bit. I really think they're going to explore that in Persona 6, where they could potentially be trying to brainwash people using the metaverse. And I don't know, actually, I don't know, but this is a speculation. Like, if I actually knew, I'd be writing for Atlus. But I don't, Spin, so I digress. I believe that Persona 6 will involve a group of individuals who happen to have psychic abilities outside of the metaverse, and they're looking into a research group to possibly determine whether or not they are brainwashing innocent people. Or monkeys, who fucking knows.